Hello, this is Justin from the Fleet Profit Center, and in this video we are going to look at installing a Go5 GPS device using a Y-adapter. Now the first step is we want to plug in the GPS device into the OBD-II port to make sure that it's receiving power. We see that the lights light up and the beeps are making beeps, so we're good to go. Now getting into the dash of most vehicles are pretty straightforward. And once we do that, we want to disconnect the OBD-II port from its mounting right here. Now this next step is optional. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the Y-adapter and I'm putting a little notch here so that I can pass an anti-tamper strap through it. Now there are wires behind there and we don't want to be too rough with this process. The plastic strap isn't going to short anything, but we still want to be careful not to break any wires or what have you. You'll notice the anti-tamper straps have serialized markings on them. So right here we see the serial number, and then there's also a company stamp logo there. So this can't be removed and replaced by just any other zip tie. Now we're ready to go ahead and attach it to the OBD-II port. Again, we want to be careful about this. We just want to zip tie it up tight enough so that it can't be removed unless somebody were to actually cut the tie. So now we're ready to tuck the wiring up into the dash. You'll notice the Y-adapter has two OBD-II port ends so that we can select the one that best fits the configuration of the vehicle we're installing to. So by using this included adapter, I can attach this to the bracket that's in the vehicle, which will allow the other end to act as the connection to the actual GPS unit. So using this as a guideline, I can push this up and I can see where the existing wiring is coming up through the top of the dash here. This is allowing me, again, a guideline to see how much slack I'm going to need to allow myself. And once I have that figured out, I can go ahead and zip tie this down so it's nice and tight and not getting in the way of the driver. In the meantime, I've got enough room up top here so that I can take my extension cable and plug it into the end like so. Now in terms of where we put the actual device, my preference is up along the molding by the windshield on the driver's side. So to get access, we need to remove this hand grip here, and that will allow us to pull off this molding. Now in Fords especially, the guts to the molding are a little flimsy, and you want to make sure you're very careful when you pull this off, otherwise those internal little plastic clips are going to come off the actual molding part. So being careful, we can remove the side molding here and reveal a nice little cubby hole where that unit is going to fit quite nicely. Now with one end of the extension cable plugged into the Y harness, we are now looking at the other end here, which we're going to plug into the actual Go5 unit. The antenna is on the black side of the unit, whereas the adhesive pad we're going to stick on the side with the serial number on it. So remove it from the Velcro, peel back the tape, and go ahead and put it on so in a way that you can still see the serial number on there, and it's just as simple as that. Now we want to make sure we can get the extension cable to where we want to install the unit. Now that might mean going through the dash a bit, finding a little cubby hole like this, but in the case of the Ford that we're working on, it actually very easily goes up the side here. We want to make sure it's all nicely tucked in, but we're not going to zip tie anything down first because we want to make sure we're going to have enough slack to get everything run where it's supposed to go. So with the extension cable end up by the windshield, I've gone ahead and attached the Go5 unit to it. Now there's no real wrong way to strap this in, but I've used the anti-tamper strap and an additional tie strap to hold some of the excess cable around because we will be installing to a pretty tight area. This is taking into consideration the fact that this Velcro end is going to be on the metal portion and that the wire will be pointing in a downward direction. Now before I actually attach it on, I do want to make sure I'm going to line it up properly so that none of these ends are going to butt up against the unit and make the molding stick out. Once I'm happy with that, I can go ahead, remove the adhesive on the other end of the Velcro pad, and go ahead and attach it to the middle side of the wall so that the antenna portion will be facing outwards towards the windshield. Now off camera, I've attached the other end of the extension cable to the Y-adapter. That's given the unit power.
Naganap na pala. Mayroon ka ba? Pwede ko sumali doon. Meron na akong
and that's how the unit acts after ignition. I'll point out that the unit does stay noisy for the first couple of ignition cycles so that you can test for the various states, but after that it does go silent. So basically right now we're just putting everything back together, snapping down the side moldings, putting back on the gasket, and returning the handle back into its position. Down under the dash we can attach to whatever we can fasten these loose cables to make sure that they're not flopping around and nothing gets tugged. And finally, we want to make sure we know what serial number is on that GPS device and what vehicle it's installed into. So use your handy dandy sticker sheet and make a note of the license plate, vehicle number, odometer reading if necessary. Well, thanks very much for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me at the info provided.